Greg, welcome back to Obsessed with Death. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'll say this. Anyone who knows me knows that there was never a chance of you getting to bring up topics. There's just too much always coming out of my mouth to fucking regulate.
I'm with you, man. I think we both clearly had plenty to say, that there was no time or need for the stories, and we could probably do a whole nother episode right now and ignore the list of topics we have.
Yeah.
And, whatever. I think that I like kind of starting off on top and just chatting a little bit and then getting into it. That's sort of the beauty of this, is it could kind of be whatever we want it to be. I just think that, there are always these stories in the news. I'm sure you see them on, Instagram and TikTok and whatever, where, one of the Instagram accounts that I noticed does it a lot, which I think is kind of strange, but I guess it works. It's like People Magazine. This is so random, but like, what? I'll like, my algorithm is all death. Like, that's just like what I get from doing this. And People Magazine and like Good Morning America, they do a lot of death content. They really do.
Really?
They do.
What kind of death content? Like how people died or old people died? Yeah,
just like different, news stories. Sometimes it'll be like too emotional. So what I think I struggle with this type of show and the idea for the final word is like trying to find that middle ground of like, okay, this is a story about death, but there is some comedy to it. Like, it can be funny. It's sad, but we could still find like some comedy to this story about, or this person, whatever, that died. And I think like the Good Morning Americas or the People Magazine or whatever, they'll sort of focus, more on like celebrity. Anytime a celebrity gets cancer, I mean, there's like 9 posts about James Vanderbeek like selling jerseys for like leukemia treatment. Did you see that?
Cancer? No.
I think he has. It's one of the bad ones too. It's like colon cancer. I think he has colon cancer. It's not great, and. He like, went on Good Morning America or one of those shows and like did the whole like publicity tour of like, I have cancer and this is how my family's coping and whatever. And like a week later, he was like selling merch to like pay for his cancer treatment. It was like Varsity Blues jerseys. He was like signing them and selling them to people. And like a portion was going to like some foundation, but he made a point at the end to be like, this is also helping me pay for cancer treatment.
Is he not I thought he was a guy who was like super rich.
Yeah.
Very good insurance.
You would assume.
Vanderbeek can't beat cancer. I ain't getting close.
The first thought I had was, if this dude can't afford, if this guy's struggling with paying medical bills for cancer treatment, how does anybody do it? And whatever, he was like very much like a success in the 90s. So I'm sure the money's maybe run out a little. I don't think Dawson's Creek checks are paying the bills anymore.
Well, I think they still are. No, dude, they still are, because that's still getting reruns, and rerun money is fucking good.
So hopefully he got a good deal. Hopefully he got.
I don't know if he just got super screwed, but it ran a couple seasons. I'd imagine he's doing all right. Who knows?
I mean, he's on Instagram signing Varsity Blues jerseys to help pay for his cancer treatments. Maybe he just wants to like break even, or he doesn't want to touch he's got like 6 kids. Maybe he doesn't want to like touch the college funds. So he's like, let me just do this. And maybe he's not. Either way, it's still
saddening.
Yeah, of course. It's such you don't want to see. I wish I remember. What's his name from, did you watch Dawson's Creek? I didn't really watch it. I don't really remember it. I don't either.
This brings up a great topic that is not on the list, but I think maybe we could talk about it. Although maybe it's old news now. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But that fucking healthcare CEO who was murdered.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I have been struggling with this.
Yeah.
Struggling. Because I really believe in not murdering people. It's just something I really have always stuck my guns to.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, but I feel you.
Yeah, I know this is going to cut half your crowd, half the audience away from me.
Yeah.
But I've always been like, man, murder is, no matter what, you can never murder someone. And I had this specific rules in my life where I was like, the reason you can never murder anyone is because once you have that reason, your window starts to open more. So if you're like, I punch Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you don't just punch Nazis, right? Then people start going, hey, that guy's a Nazi for the way he acted. And you're like, well, he's not really a Nazi. But now do you punch that guy?
Sure.
So it's like you continually, like if you say you will murder this type of person, you can be controlled into murdering people, which no one is controlling me. None of the things I'm saying really have anything to do with my life. But I think deeply into this stuff. And so I was like, if you just say you'll never murder anyone, you'll be okay, right? But now this happens.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
and people were celebrating. It was like I'm surprised there weren't parades like in the streets.
I know, because that's how mad people are.
Yeah.
I understand.
Totally.
I understand. And I'm also like, look, if they murdered that guy, the next day there was that, did you see the anesthesiologist thing that was happening?
No.
I'm not great.
Oh, no, I got, no, go ahead. But
they were saying that like, this company was trying to time how long you could be under anesthesia. And if you go too long, if you're
going to put a timer in the operating room, once that bell hits.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's like, so should doctors go faster? That's crazy. Doctors are not going to go faster. So then you just have to pay that out of pocket. That's ruining lives. So if this murder happened is the reason that law changed, it's already worth it. That man who died, both of them, even if you're on both sides, they're both martyrs now. They both threw away their lives to make and now it's like, well, now where does it stop? Do I go to fucking Target? Because shit, like you just don't know where. It's a scary thing, but it's also like, I've been struggling because I think this could be the outcome.
People immediately got on the internet and were like, they put like a roster poster together of like every CEO with like a photo and what company they work for and how much money they make every year. And they were just like, just putting this out there, ...
That's bad.
Crazy. And I mean, dude, the comments go to any...
One was just his ex-girlfriend. Like, one is just like, it's like all these CEOs, and just one in there is like, and Sarah. I just, maybe Sarah.
just sprinkles in a couple other people because you're never going to, who knows?
2 for you, 1 for me. What are we doing here? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No. So, I mean... To get to that, and that was like instant. It was like that day. But then, so you see stuff like that, right? And then you see the comment section where people are literally celebrating and starting GoFundMe accounts for this guy. And that's not really that crazy. Every serial killer gets 1 million letters in the mail from women proposing. Right. It's like people idolize murderers of every kind. So I don't think it's that crazy, but this is like a very special situation where it's like so many people can relate. He had like almost this like Robin Hood type vibe to him. There was a video of the entire thing, so you literally got to watch him murder this guy, and like he did it in a cool way where the gun jams and he
I didn't see.
Oh my god, the video's crazy. The CEO walks past him. There's like a woman on the right. He's walking into a hotel. And so he's walking towards the hotel. He walks past this bystander woman. The Luigi, his name is, I forget his last name. Luigi comes back up.
Luigi Mangione, sorry.
Comes up behind him. And as soon as the camera gets on him, he's pointing the gun at him, shoots him in the leg, and then his gun immediately jams. I think he like 3D printed the gun, or like it was like a crazy weird silencer thing, but the gun jammed and he immediately fixes it, whatever he's got to do, shoots the guy again, kills him, and then just keeps moving, jumps on a bike, bails. The woman, this poor woman who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, just takes off running the other way. Obviously, he doesn't hurt her. He just lets her go. But the internet got everything. It got an insane video. It got this like Robin Hood vibe. He kills the CEO. And so,
he didn't hurt anyone else either. That's a major point.
I mean, if he was just shooting people, there was another woman a foot away from me. Could have just shot her first.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like with these other psychos, it's like, oh, they're crazy. Like this guy had a specific plan. He did a specific thing to a specific person who I don't know if I can classify this man as evil or he's just, because I go slow with everything, right? Like, is this guy evil or is he just part of an evil system? He was being looked in by the DOJ for insider training. Well, like, that's not great. Like, I mean, like for me, healthcare CEO immediately allows me to go bad. But it's like, It's and I hate to do this because this gets political. I'm not a guy who will ever say all cops are bad. So when that was happening, I live in Queens. There's a lot of people who were just going, cops are bad. And I went, stop it. I used to work in an ER. There were a lot of cops who literally save people's lives. And I won't ever say all are this.
Sure.
But am I in the same? Is it different enough for me to go, no, I think we can, I need a deep dive on the CEO. If I can be like, is he someone who actually deserved this? Well, it's hard. I'm struggling with it, man. I'm really struggling with it.
Well,
as a no-murder guy.
I'm curious how you feel about this because the CEO that got shot, he got shot in front of a hotel that he was walking into. He was going into that hotel because it was a big board meeting. Mm-hmm. And he was going to meet with like 20 other high-level execs, investors, other CEO-type people. How long do you think it took for them to have that meeting? He was walking in the door because the meeting was about to start, right. And then he gets killed. So obviously you got to pause the meeting. How long do you think that pause was for?
So because you're setting it up this way, I'm guessing my initial answer of they didn't have it is wrong.
Correct.
So, all right, I'll go low and say, did they take an hour? Right? They took an hour.
It happened that afternoon. He got shot at 7 a.m. The meeting took place that afternoon. Wow. I think his job was posted on LinkedIn like 2 days later.
Come on.
I don't know if that's true. But
it probably is.
Probably was. What are they going to do? There's because he got murdered, we can't hire a new guy?
Yeah, we need a new guy quick.
Got to get a new guy.
If you're the new guy, are you kind of like, do I take this job? I mean, it's kind of risky now.
Got to be there's some negotiating for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. Sure. There's some wiggle room with that salary.
The money went up. There's a little wiggle room. Yeah, you know, it's like the guy who flew on 9/11/2002. It's just kind of like, I think we'll be all right, right?
This is probably the safest time.
The safest time to be a United.
They're not going to kill the same CEO twice. They're going to go after a different healthcare company,
right? Yeah, they did catch him. Right? They got him.
Yeah. See, this is again, I don't do enough research to know if that. Please feel free to fact check anything I'm saying right now. But the way they caught him is crazy. I know everyone knows like the whole, he was at McDonald's and somebody called and they caught him at McDonald's. But it's kind of deeper than that. I don't know if you know this either. They found his backpack in Central Park and there was like a bunch of Monopoly money in it. Did you hear about that?
I saw, which I didn't understand what that was about.
I think it was him trying to be clever in like some sort of like money, Monopoly.
Sure, it's all bullshit.
He's making a statement.
Yeah.
And so the guy who owns the company that makes the Monopoly money saw it and contacted the police and was like, hey, give me the serial number on that Monopoly money. I'll tell you who bought it. And that's how they caught him. That's how they knew who it was.
What?
He paid with, apparently, and again, maybe I read this on a TikTok
There's no
comment
way
section.
That they can trace Monopoly money. It's in a box.
No, but like there's a serial number to each whatever like he paid for it with a credit card. They ran the serial number and said, okay, who bought this Monopoly game?
So here's what I would think. I love this is now an investigative journalism.
This whole podcast is way too, every time we do this, it's just going to be a whole different.
It's too interesting. But we are talking about death. So if you bought like a PlayStation, you could scan the number and they knew what PlayStation was going out. But if it was a game, every game just had the same UPC.
Yeah.
What I would imagine happened with the Monopoly thing was they probably were like, hey, we know which ones went out to which states. They're like, this one went out. If there's a serial number on this, it probably went out to this state. And then they went, okay, within that state, how many people bought Monopoly on, around this time?
Yeah, they threw into ChatGPT and they figured, and the algorithm figured it out.
Crazy. I'm not buying anything on credit card anymore.
Look, if you plan on murder, if you plan on becoming a world-renowned TikTok famous assassin, maybe don't use your debit card to buy the cool trinkets you're going to use to stir the pot while they're looking for you.
Any of the things.
Maybe pay cash, or maybe don't be clever and put Monopoly money in the backpack they're going to find. Maybe just kill the guy and then go to Mexico and be done with it. So.
I do think there is some part of him that definitely wanted to be caught. I don't think he wanted to get away with it.
Yeah. I think because he also had a YouTube channel that he like put a countdown on. He was looking for attention for sure.
He was carrying his manifesto.
Yeah. And mentally, he's clearly mentally ill. I mean, there's a lot, obviously, where it's like, you don't just do that as like a healthy, happy human being. I think it all sort of makes sense. But, there was a little bit of me that was, I don't want this guy to go around and just start murdering people, but it is kind of fun when they get away. It's kind of fun.
If it's weird to say, like, and this, again, I struggle with it because I really don't want to kill anybody. But if something ever happened to my kids because of a health insurance company, I could see myself wanting to do that. But the only reason I wouldn't is because I'm a coward. So, like, all he is braver than me.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if brave is the right word. I think he might be a little more mentally unstable than you.
Or we're finding out that I might be mentally unstable. I think we're learning a lot. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not him. Maybe he's not me, but I'm him. I don't know. I don't think I could kill anybody.
The next episode, we'll do a whole mental check on you. That'll be another episode. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It was, the internet had an absolute field day with it. And, it's kind of the only time I enjoy the internet, really, is when there's like something where like it feels like we're all sort of bonding on this thing. Otherwise, everyone's just like yelling at each other. And I'm like, everyone has opinions that I disagree with. And I'm like, I can't fucking read one more goddamn comment. I'm going to lose my mind from a stranger that I'll never meet in my entire life, so.
The only thing I want to say about this, and it's not funny at all, but it's very truthful in the way I was thinking about it, is I do think that this news story needs to not go away. Because the only thing that makes these people's death worth anything is if it changes the healthcare system.
Yeah.
So if whoever side you're on, it's like, I don't know, man, keep talking about it so that I think it's the closest we got to people actually starting to think about how we need to actually change the system.
I was thinking that it could also affect, and this is where we're getting way too deep, but like gun laws too. I think once you start killing CEOs, there's going to be a little bit more of an incentive to maybe, tighten up those gun laws. Now it was in New York, and New York's got some pretty strict gun laws, but I mean, and whatever, I think he 3D printed the gun. Either way, I don't see the story going away. There's way too much, I think, happening. I don't think the internet's going to forget it. And then just imagine the day, like his first day in court, like what that courthouse is going to look like. They're going to have to shut down a neighborhood. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, I forgot. We're going to get this when it starts again too.
Yeah. We're nowhere. Yeah. We're nowhere near the end. Unless he, I'm doing air quotes here, kills himself in jail or something, otherwise.
My friend Andy Fury, so at I work at the Comedy Cellar, so there's a lot of you see a lot of comedians. That day, everyone had a joke. And my friend Andy Fury, who is such a funny comedian, he had my favorite. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be repeating jokes. I'm not sure about Comedy Code, but I repeat it. I don't care. Andy Fury, look him up.
Yeah.
The best line about it, which was that they caught him at McDonald's. Like, what was Luigi sitting there being like, you know what? I'm going to be bad today. So funny. McDonald's maybe I'll just be bad.
It was his cheat day.
Yeah. Funny for me to be like,
that's so funny.
My favorite joke. That's my favorite joke of all of the comedians I've seen.
That's so good. Yeah, that's so good. It's definitely going to be one of those. And you're right. I think things are going to change, or something else crazy will happen in 6 months, and we'll never even speak his name ever again. It's pretty much one or the other, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
I'm glad we brought it up. I definitely do want to talk about it. The whole thing's so crazy. But yeah, we can try and get into a couple of these. The first one is just absolutely terrifying, and we were sort of just quickly before we got started, looking over at them, and this one's a legitimate nightmare. I really truly believe I've had this nightmare where you the wake up, you wake up on the surgical table and the bright light shining on you, and you could just see everybody and they got their mask. I've had that nightmare for sure. Okay, this dude has a drug overdose in 2021. He's an organ donor. He lives in Kentucky. His family takes him to the hospital. They declare him what they believe is brain dead. I don't know how. It doesn't say in the story here how long they had him on life support for, and it seems like there was a point where his family noticed that his eyes were sort of tracking movement in the room. But the doctors were saying that that's something, it's like almost a reflex, especially with people who have brain damage or who are clinically, brain dead. Like that's still just going to happen. So they didn't think anything of it. And apparently
that's not always happening. That's the thing is like, there's no way to prove it. So maybe every one of those people with those eyes, they've just been completely nightmare scenario in their brain, watching everything.
I've seen stories on the news, whatever, people who were in comas for like 6 weeks, 6 months, a year. And they're like, oh yeah, I was aware of all of it. Some people are completely conscious and just cannot speak or move. And they're just there for the whole coma. Like I said, he was an organ donor. So they start digging, man. They put him on the table and they're going to start while they are harvesting his organs. And you got to assume, right, that he's dead. You don't get
brain
me.
Dead. They said brain dead, but not dead. Shouldn't he be dead? Should they make sure he's dead?
I was going to say the same thing. What is the difference between dead, and brain dead? Like, does somebody come with a pillow and finish him off? How does that work?
I'm wondering, a couple bullets? I don't know.
I guess you just assume that if they're brain dead, it's sort of the closest to complete death as possible. And then once you start pulling organs, maybe somebody's going to take his heart for a heart transplant, and then he's just dead.
Right. Heart. If the heart stops, that's when they're dead.
Yeah. So I would assume they just didn't start with the heart. But either way, they threw him on the table. I'm assuming, obviously, they think he's dead, so there's no sort of antibiotics or, he's just raw dogging this organ harvest right now. And while they're literally harvesting his organs, he wakes up and just starts thrashing and crying and screaming.
So did that kill him?
No, he survived.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so that's something. Oh,
so during the surgery, he began thrashing, visibly crying, prompting doctors to obviously stop the organ harvest that they were doing. He now struggles with walking and memory and speech, and of course, you can imagine, his family.
Say any of that. If he's alive, it's like he. You know how much he was struggling before they started organs. He wasn't doing anything. It's all positive now.
Yeah, I don't think the accidental harvesting of organs had anything to do with the drug overdose and the brain damage.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would obviously assume that the family is going to sue the hospital and the doctors for, the medical mistake. I don't know, either the mistakes for declaring somebody dead, brain dead, who is not dead. And then, of course, you're gonna throw that stuff in there, right? You're gonna be like, he also can't walk anymore, so that's probably because the doctor cut his tummy open. Yeah.
Two things I want to say about this. Yeah. One is this move is such a classic my 3-year-old son move, where he won't listen to you or talk to you until you try to take his stuff. Then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, that's mine!" He starts screaming. Yeah, but I guess you're not getting my colon.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Because that's true. It's like if his eyes were tracking movement and he's in the bed, I guess it was like, should they have pinched him? Maybe put a lighter under his foot or something? What are you supposed to do?
I mean, I wonder if taking your organs is the jumpstart he needed to get his voice going, which is like, man, how lazy are you?
Yeah,
I don't know what that was about.
They literally had to slice him completely open for him to say anything.
That is fucking nuts.
Terrifying.
It's like, well, why didn't you talk? It's like, well, nobody asked. It's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
The second thing, too, is like, man, imagine you're waiting on a kidney and we got one for you. And then well, what happened? You go, well, the guy was alive.
He woke up.
He said he wanted it. He asked for it back. Are you going to get anything out? If they took something out.
Yeah. Well, what do we got? 2 kidneys? We got 2 kidneys. Do we have 2 kidneys?
Most people have 2 kidneys.
Yeah. All right. So maybe they give, if they were looking for a kidney, maybe he goes, all right, you can have one. I'll be good with the one. I got to keep I don't know. Yeah. That would be a real bummer. I mean, it's got to happen. It happened here, obviously. You would assume if they got his heart, they're probably going to take his eyeballs. They're going to take all of it. And a bunch of people probably got phone calls, pages, whatever fucking year it is. I don't know what year it is. And a bunch of people, somebody probably thought they were getting a new heart.
Right.
And then this fucking Anthony Thomas of Kentucky had to go ahead and wake up.
So selfish.
What a real piece of shit.
It's like you weren't even using that stuff. Now all of a sudden people want it. Now you're alive.
Look,
the most horrific thing has happened to a human being, and we're like, what a prick.
That's the show, guys. It's fine. It's fine. Look, it's crazy. It can happen to anybody. That's always sort of the most terrifying thing to me about, you hear stories where people will write something. You ever see like somebody will like take some Sharpie and like write on their like thigh or whatever, like not this leg, because they just like don't want the doctor to like take the wrong leg or whatever. You worked in the hospital, you get it. Things get mixed up. People take the wrong thing, cut the wrong thing, whatever. It's scary.
Never write not this leg, because all you do is sweat a little bit and then not wipes away. And the doctor's like, it says this leg.
Yeah. Let's take both just in case.
Yeah. I mean, I think the move there is you just wait till they wake up and you got to ask them again. Well, I don't know if you just risk it and go, well, which one do we do? That one's Sharpie. The notes say this.
Crazy.
It's no good. When did this happen?
So it happened in 2021, but there was obviously, maybe, or he's dead. But the story, it happened in 2021, but they were in court for years. Both the Baptist Health Center and the Kentucky organ donor affiliates were like pushing to like they didn't want the story to get out, obviously. So the sister did like the full interview. I don't have the full interview in front of me, but the sister really like pushed really hard to like make sure that the story got out, because she wants other people to be aware that like this is happening. So it didn't become a story until like maybe a couple of months ago. I think I read the story and
wow, man, that's a nightmare.
Absolutely terrifying. I'll be honest though, this next story that I want to get into is scarier to me, only because it's way more relatable. The title, I think this is what's the New York Post, and the New York Post just like makes these headlines that are just awful and depressing, and I'm sure that's probably why they do it. There's a guy, Barry, 57, was alone trying to make a cheeseburger. He's apparently Barry liked the frozen patties. And, they get stuck together. They do the little hockey pucks, basically. Mm-hmm. And so the headline is, Loner stabbed himself to death trying to separate two frozen burgers with a knife. Now, I also live alone, so I hate the term loner. Like, the guy accidentally kills himself. Why are you going to call him a loner?
Also, the wife could have been walking the dog. If this could also happen to me, the chances of this also happening to me are equally as high as you.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's been brought up on the show multiple times, but the choking, like dying alone in my apartment, is a big fear. Getting out of the shower, I'm like so careful about not slipping. Yeah. I don't want to be found with my head cracked open in the bathtub like a week later. I just don't want, the choking on food. I genuinely believe I will pause for a moment because of the embarrassment of like having to knock on my neighbor's door and be like, I'm choking to death. You need to save me. Like, I might just let myself die.
Or you know how to do self CPR. I mean, you know how to do self choke. You'd look that up because you could do self Heimlich.
Can I though? In the moment, can I? Yeah. I don't know.
A couple dry runs just in case. You'll see.
My point is, it's something that crosses my mind a lot. You go a day or two where, maybe no one calls or texts you, and you're like, I could be dead this whole time. Nobody would fucking know. So these stories have a soft spot in my heart. So fuck the New York Post and their stupid bullshit headlines calling him a loner. I hate that. The guy fucking died trying to make a frozen cheeseburger. Like, buddy, throw him in the microwave. Let him thaw out for like 30 minutes. Like,
do you know how many fucking times I've done that? Where I'm trying to open a package and I whip the knife and it just cuts an eyebrow off. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a learning lesson. That was a lesson. Yeah. Dude, I kid you not. I used to work at this department store, Fortunoff's, and I would sit in the back and I would open up boxes. That was my job all day. It was just open boxes, a stock guy. Yeah. And it was like a plastic piece. And I had the box cutter and I'm pulling it literally as hard as I can. I was like 20. So I was still stupid, Yeah. It cuts through. The box cutter goes right into my carotid.
Oh,
but it has the safety mechanism where the knife when you let go, the knife slides back.
Oh, you're so
and it went, and I'm sitting here looking, I'm like, oh my, I was like, that was it. Like, that was it. You idiot. You never open a box like this again. But it was like, thank God someone invented that spring-loaded razor blade. It saved my life. I should write that guy a letter.
You know how many 20-year-olds died before they were like, maybe we should put some sort of mechanism on this thing so that the blade drops down. Nobody no other 20-year-old, the only way someone learns from that experience is if you die or almost die, and then you come back and you teach the next guy. They go, oh yeah, Greg, yeah, he killed himself. I don't know, he's cutting a box. Like, no one really explains it. They're like, yeah, he sliced his throat trying to open a box, and then they just move on. Like,
can I tell you the story? I don't know how vulgar I can get on this story.
We could edit if we have to, but I'm into it already. Go ahead.
I can cut. All right, I'm going to make it the simple version, which is still a little dirty, which was on my birthday. Yeah. I was enjoying myself.
Sure.
The man would enjoy himself.
Oh, come on. Nothing wrong with that.
But I'll say this, though. The real version is much dirtier.
Did you have a box cutter to your throat while you were doing it?
No, all right, I'll just tell you the real version. Maybe you cut this out.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to stick some in my butt. I'm going to try it. It was my birthday.
I can't believe you almost didn't tell me this part. Go ahead.
Because this isn't like a dirty podcast. I don't know what your listeners are, right?
Do you think we haven't had a story on this podcast where somebody put something up their butt and they died from it? Come on now.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
We'll do this. My birthday. And on my birthday, when I do these things, I call it the ultimate. Yeah, it's I call it the ultimate pleasure. Every year on my birthday, I do the ultimate pleasure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I treat myself to something new.
I love it. I usually will take myself to a movie on my birthday, maybe sneak in a breakfast burrito. Yeah. That's how I treat myself.
Hey, to each their own, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, all right, I'm going to try this for the first time. Let's get it going, right? I got porn going on an iPad and a computer. I was like, I'm going full out.
On both?
Everywhere.
You got multiple videos going.
Like the Batcave. Many screens. So I was like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I go for it. I attempt it.
Sure.
At that moment, I had the sharpest pain in my flank.
Yeah.
Rippling. I fell to the ground, butt naked, and I said, dear God, not like this. Not like this. I crawled myself into a bathtub because I was like, if I'm dead, at least they'll think I was trying to take a shower and maybe they won't look in my room. Turns out I had a kidney stone that just so happened to have an attack at that moment. I believe it's because I was dehydrated because like the activity also is making me sweat possibly. And maybe that's what set it off.
Yeah.
My wife came home, drove me to the hospital.
You're married at this point?
She was my girlfriend at the time.
Okay. All right. But in a relationship, it's your story. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead. That's the end, but ask away.
I love the idea of like, it's my birthday. It's my way of treating myself. My girlfriend's not even included. Like I love that. Absolutely. I love that.
If she wants to do something for my birthday, good for her. But this is my time.
What do you think the odds are that Anthony from Kentucky had something up his butt too? Pretty good.
100%.
Pretty good, right?
100%.
Benny, I'm so glad you told that story. Please never hold back anything that includes double porn screens or butt stuff. We fully support all of that. I mean, dude, look, the whole thing of just like being alone and trying a thing and possibly dying is so scary. Whether, you're treating yourself to some birthday pleasure or you're just trying to make a couple of frozen cheeseburgers. And look, he was trying to separate two burger patties. So maybe he had a buddy coming over and that's how they found, his dead body. But I will say this, it did make me a little bit more careful in the kitchen. I was cutting a brick of cheese earlier, and the entire time I was thinking about this poor guy, and I was cutting real slow, like way slow, because it's by far the worst way I think I could go. There's so many different ways I think I could die.
Yeah.
But I genuinely do feel like it's going to happen alone in my apartment. And I just want it to be the most respectable version of that. And this is a tough one.
But I want to go back to your point, though, about not wanting to die this way.
Yeah.
I want to argue that point.
Okay.
Because if the only problem I have with dying this way is he died young. I'd like to, with the kids now, I want to live to 80.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. 80 sounds great.
So, but I would say if I died that way, all of my friends would go, exactly. That is exactly how we expected him to go. A bunch of people would yell, bingo, I had it. That's how Greg dies.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, there's no more on-brand way I could die than trying to cut through, high out of my brain, trying to cut through 2 frozen cheeseburgers.
I mean, do you throw like the veteran detective or like the rookie on this case? Because it could be the most complex case in the world, or it could be the no-brainer where they're like, yeah, this guy was using the sharpest knife in his house to try and break 2 frozen bricks apart.
I mean, it's got to happen. I would say if a couple more people die trying to open up cheeseburgers, then we're different states. They need to start putting that red string on the board together to connect these people.
Yeah, if it's a wet bandits situation where basements are starting to flood, only it's cheeseburgers. Then we need to throw the veteran on it. But man,
also, if he lived, who does he sue? Can he sue the burgers? Does he sue the cold?
That's a good question.
Who does he sue?
Cold. Those burgers were way too frozen and fresh.
Like the lady who sued McDonald's because their coffee was too hot.
Yep. Yeah.
She's going to sue Boca Burger. I mean, these things are too cold. Sue Kenmore.
Yeah, or your knife was so sharp that I was able to cut through frozen burger patties and still kill myself in the same moment. I'm sure somebody probably thought, like, who could we go after for this? But I don't know, man. I think Barry's just shit out of luck at this point. 57 years old, death by burger patty is not the way to go.
I'll tell you this, if it wasn't that, it was the cholesterol. Those burger was going to kill him one way or the other.
Yeah, you gotta go fresh ground beef. You can't go the frozen burger patties. Those things are just filled with salt.
Yeah,
it was going to be the heart attack or the stabbing, one or the other.
I'll say this is the last piece on this. I don't know why I do this, but how quick did he die? Because he probably wasn't that quick, and that motherfucker sat there going, "You got to be kidding me!" He doesn't even get to eat the cheeseburger.
That's the worst part. He probably had He probably had some fries in the air fryer that were like almost done. He was going to pick a couple of those while the burgers, were cooking. It was going to be a good night. 57 years old, probably, a couple of beers. That's the other thing too. They don't mention if he was drinking, but I'm assuming he had to be drunk.
Right.
Frozen burger patties. That could be a drunk meal. And
it could be.
Yeah. And to accidentally, he basically murdered himself. Blood was discovered in his kitchen and bedroom. So it looks like he probably got up. He probably stabbed himself in the kitchen, got up, probably struggled to maybe get to the bedroom to maybe grab a phone and then died there.
Or maybe he just went to his bed. Maybe he went, this is it. He gave up. He went, enough life for me. Thank you. This is how I go. Peacefully to bed.
I kind of love that.
Me too.
That's nice. Just make it back to his bed and just pass out in bed and just call it a life.
Like a gunslinger. That's like a guy, you thought he won at the OK Corral, and he just gets back into his bed, and he shows you, he opens his coat, and you go, Johnny, no. And he's like, yeah, you take care of the kids. You keep the money.
Or it's like a gunslinger who pulled out his gun and accidentally was pointing it at himself and shot himself. And
he was trying to shoot the top of a beer off. It fucking ricocheted into him.
There was a story that we talked about a year ago. These 2 guys, I think it was Kentucky, 2 just got completely wasted and put on bulletproof vests and were just shooting each other.
I read this.
It was. I was like, these are the coolest people ever. I love these guys, and they got arrested. No. So like a neighbor called the police, and the cops show up and like arrest them. I think the charges got dropped because who were they pressing charges on? They were drunk shooting each other. It was just the best. It was.
The cop says stop, and he goes, "What are you gonna do? Shoot me? We've been doing that all day, brother." Captain America goes, "I could do this all day," and he just keeps shooting them.
Yeah. Why not have the cop join in? He's got a vest on too. I mean, just the absolute best. But I mean, there's just so many insane ways to go. whether you're drinking with your buddy and you're testing out a bulletproof vest, or I don't know, man. It's a real bummer. Like the dying alone at home, it hits me, but I'm pretty sure I'll never die that. I don't think that's going to ever take me out. I think I'll always be able to thaw the burgers without murdering myself.
Can I say this, though, to your fear of dying alone?
Sure.
As a guy who worked in an ER and saw people die a lot, we all die alone. A lot of them just die in whatever. It's not about when you die. It's about how you live, brother.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
For sure. No, I think it's more of just like, I don't want to die alone in my apartment in my 30s. If I'm like 80 and I slip and my life alert doesn't work or whatever, I'm fine with that.
You know what's crazy? I know for a fact I'll never die in my 30s. I'm 43.
Because you're not in your 30s anymore.
Like, that's a kind of nice thing to know.
Sure.
I'm not going to die in my 30s.
You survived your 30s. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I only got 3 years left, so
you're doing it.
I think I'm going to probably pull it off, but I'm going to be very careful these next 3 years. Going to be very careful. All right, we got one more here. This one, the last one, I'm always kind of like iffy on. It's whatever. We don't have to really get too deep into it. I just thought it was interesting because, I definitely feel like science and medical science is advancing so much so quickly that I really do believe that like people our age, by the time, if we make it till 80, I think we're going to have a pretty good chance of like, we're just going to be able to swap out parts. I really do feel like that. Like we'll probably get there. We're the generation below us, they're definitely going to get it. I think we're going to be right on the border there. But it was a research team in Denmark. They created a exercise pill that mimics the effects of running a 10K marathon or whatever I guess you want to call it without effort. I like how they put out without effort. Like, what do you
so you take a pill, you're just like, it just makes you sweaty and tired.
The first thing,
this pill's killing you.
The first thing I thought of, it's so funny you say that. The first thing I thought of was, well, you could die from like over exercising. So like, what if you're like completely out of shape and then you take the 10K marathon pill and your body's like, I can't handle this, and then you just die immediately.
Yeah, give me your pill that is walking to the car. A few around the block.
I was just going to say, can I get like the walks that briskly walks to the mailbox?
Yeah, please.
I want that.
Nice.
Yeah, I want the guy who casually goes to the gym twice a month pill. Like, can I guy who lives till he's 74? Like, give me that pill. Whatever that is.
Stands on the subway instead of sits. I'll do that one.
Yeah. Guy who had a salad twice a week. Like, give me that guy. Like, whatever it is. I definitely want the average man pill. There was another story that I read about months ago where they did a study. They were basically like, there's 2 points in your life where like they always thought that like you gradually age, and now they sort of think that there's like 2 milestones where like you and you're close, buddy. They're saying 44 and 65. Those are like the 2 points where the body like sort of like the clock, the turn. I don't know what the term is. Where like the things shift in the human body.
It's like Ozempic. Like it probably gives you the health benefits of running.
Yeah.
So it makes you tired.
No, it's definitely,
It's just any drug.
So it says
all the drugs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so it says health benefits. You'd think I would reference the notes that I actually put together. But the health benefits include toxin flushing, heart strengthening, appetite suppression. So there's your Ozempic right there. And reduced risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. So they just put a fancy, headline on this article, but it's basically just like a pill that's going to like stop you from having a heart attack at 45 and you'll have it at 55 or whatever. I guess this is what I want to get into. If there was like a pill where they're like, you could live to be 200, would you take that pill? You want to be 200?
I want to live forever.
You never want, if you could never die, yeah? I'm the same way. Yeah.
There's no reason to not be immortal. It's crazy.
What if you get like in the clinical trial or whatever, and now you live forever? You're bicentennial man. Like all your friends and family die, but you live forever. You cool with that?
I'll say this. we could put a pin. I'll answer your question, but then I'll say we should just do a full episode on immortality.
I would love to.
Because I have written pages of stuff on immortality, on what that would look like, what the human race would look like. It's a thing. But that,
Greg, where have you been in my life? What are we doing, man?
Yeah.
Writing pages on immortality? We got to get into it. But okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, the bicentennial, the thing is like, watching my children die, I don't think it's a thing I could handle.
Yeah, figure that out.
No, I would just go all the way with them, right? Like, I would love to get old with them.
Oh, okay, sure.
But
then like they have kids, and then you're like, don't you want to like hang out with your grandkids?
Oh yeah, then I'll just get old with them, and then I'll keep getting old with all these people.
Okay, so you got to make sure that your children have kids and that their kids have kids.
I'd really want everyone to start being immortal because I don't want to die.
Yeah. All right, maybe we.
I mean, at least 1,000 years. At least.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to live forever because I don't want to miss out on stuff. I mean, to the point where I'm like, at a certain point, I'm gonna have to stop listening to my favorite podcasts. And it's like, well, if I live forever, I can listen to it for the rest of eternity as long as they don't die too. You know what I mean? Like, I just I don't want to miss out on stuff. I want to see aliens. I want to see asteroid hit the planet and we all got to start over again. Like, I want to do all of that shit. Oh, I definitely would. I want to just experience everything until the sun just consumes the earth, and then I guess we're kind of shit out of luck.
But that's the thing about humans. Right now, we're nothing.
Yeah.
But if we were immortal, then we would be something. Because the fact that there's a time limit on us means that, nothing really means anything. Because whatever we do is all gone. But if we all start being forever. Also, look, this is like a dream. This is like a high dream I had.
Yeah.
I was sitting high. I was looking at my backyard. And I was like, man, when you look into space, it's all darkness. Right? Yeah. It's all darkness. But the reality is like, not the reality, but like, that's how little life is around. Imagine if you looked out there and all of the stars were all just like, we have so much humans to put places. Like, it's so little, it's so crazy how little conscious beings are around.
Yeah. I kind of love the idea of like putting a group of people together and just like putting them on a ship and just shooting them into space. And it's like, now you just live that life forever. And like people just like continue to procreate and start families and like generations just continue to like travel through space and like live that life. I think that would be a pretty
Star Trek shit. Like the Enterprise.
Yeah, man.
Just out there traveling.
And I think that we'll eventually get to that point, right? Where people will be like, no, I would be willing to, put my kids in that scenario for whatever. I don't know. We're definitely going off on a path here, but
the thing I think about with immortality all of the time is I think about if we live long enough, eventually people will become immortal. Like we just don't get. So at some point when that happens, people are going to look back at people in the past and go, holy shit, people used to die?
Yeah.
Like, wait, you mean all of their thoughts, all of the things, it's all gone forever? Forever. Like, we have no record? Nope. That is going to be such a nightmare for people to think about how we used to die.
Yeah, it's like when we tell kids about how the internet used to not exist. They're like, what? You didn't have TikTok? And you're like, yeah, man, there was a period where I didn't even have a phone on me. And
you just didn't know things.
Yeah.
And you would never know them unless somebody, you have to meet somebody and ask them.
Yeah. Every 100 years, 80 to 100 years, it was just all new people. And we just kept doing that forever.
Right.
And then, I don't know, man. It's crazy to think about. And it all goes back to this shit where like there's like people in labs, with their little white coats on being like, all right, how do I make a pill that'll just create the healthiest human being that will live as long as possible? Probably because they want to live for a long time. And then also to just, be the person that creates that. And then, we just get to a point where I think, like I said before, we're just like, we're swapping out parts, there's like organ farms. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I think we did it. Greg, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast and joining me for the final word. I think, it seems like maybe you'll be joining us for more episodes of the Final Word.
Keep playing it by ear, but I'm having so much fun. I really enjoy doing this. So.
Yeah, I really enjoy having you on the podcast. This is a ton of fun. Lucky enough for us, there's always some pretty wild and people are going to keep dying, and the New York Post is going to write horrible headlines about them. And then we'll talk about them. But thank you everybody so much for listening. Please, of course, all the things, tell a friend, spread the word, share the podcast if you can. And we'll be back for another episode of The Final Word here in just a few weeks. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. And thank you, Greg.
Yeah.